Hi, it's me, Psychic Emma. I thought that today I would tell you a little anecdote about when I developed my telepathy. So, I did not know my whole life that I was telepathic. I could just always read people like a book and I put it down to intuition because I also, despite being incredibly psychic, did not know that psychic was a thing because I was raised in a little cocoon, as some of us are. So, I I had these experiences throughout my whole life of being able to read people like a book and not know why. And they were like, "Oh, how do you know?" And I'm like, "Oh, just isn't it obvious?" And it was obvious to me, but not to other people. So I remember when I was in the fashion industry in my 20s, many years have gone by since then. Um, but there was this instance where I was sitting facing my desk and my colleague was sitting facing her desk. So we were back to back in the office, and not a small office either, just we were just back to back. And she said some things to me that I found truly offensive, very, very offensive. And I turned around and I'm like, "How dare you be so rude to me? Like, I cannot believe you just said that." And she was like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you just said blah, blah, blah. That's really rude." She's like, "No, I didn't." And I was like, "I literally heard you with my ears. Like, why are you denying it?" And we got into a whole rip-roaring argument that did not end well. But turns out she had thought it and not said it. So, side story, I was always very efficient at doing my job, and sometimes the bosses would put her work on me to complete because I could do my job and her job within working hours, and she was getting very behind on her work, so that's why she was so cross with me. Yes. And um, so the argument did not end well, not at all. So then I was like, okay, this is a thing I need to Google. So I typed in hearing people's thoughts and I saw telepathy as an option. I read up on telepathy and I was like, I've been doing that my whole life and I didn't even know it was a thing. So then I was curious and I asked my friend, like during my lunch break at 1 p.m., can we please play and experiment with my telepathy? So at 1 p.m., we're both going to sit down. I'm going to tune into you. I'm going to think about you and tune into you. And you must send me some really basic, simple thoughts, but don't think about the world problems in 1 minute. Just think about one thing at a time, like, I like my blue top, or, it's time to cut my toenails, or just really basic, one thought at a time thing. So we sat down at 1 p.m. I sat in quiet contemplation for 10 minutes and then I phoned him. And I was like, "Why were you thinking about fabric?" Because I was like, the first 5 minutes was just all about all different types of fabric. He was like, "I wasn't thinking about fabric." And I was like, "Well, then who was I hearing?" Because it was so clear. And then I decided to go out of this other room where I was in and go into the central office area. And I saw, because it's a fashion industry, I saw reams and reams of fabric. And it being fabric suppliers coming to show the bosses and the designer what was available. So I had accidentally overheard them and not my friend. And I was like, "Oh, okay." Ran back to the phone. I'm like, "Whoops, sorry, I heard the people in the meeting, not you." He's like, "Oh, like, did you hear them talking?" I'm like, "Yes, but in my head." "What?" I'm like, "Ah, this telepathy thing is crazy." So then I said, "Okay, let's try again." So we got quiet again. I sat quietly for a while. Then I was like, "Okay, you were thinking about this and this and that." And he was like, "Wow, yes, I was." And I was like, "I'm telepathic." It was very exciting. So, yes, so that is telepathy. But now, for those who are not born this way and want to develop telepathy, there are some very simple things that I have done with my clients over the years. And you start off with plants, because plants talk if you listen hard enough. And we shouldn't listen too hard because then we take away from the fun of it. Because telepathy, all psychic abilities should be fun. It should not be a burden. It should not make us heavy. It should just be a celebration of life. So you go to a friend's house. If they're like-minded, you can tell them what you're doing and they can guide you through the process. If they are not, you can just experiment on your own. But you cannot do it with your own plants because you know when last you watered them. So you go to a friend's house, you connect with a plant by touching the pot plant, not the plant itself. So you touch the base. Do not touch the soil, do not look at the soil, just this. looking away. Otherwise it's cheating and it doesn't count. And you're like, are you thirsty? And you will get a feeling or a sense of knowing. And for those of you who get a feeling in your body, you will feel over here, yes, I'm thirsty. Or if you feel them, they're like they've got a lot to say, yes, and actually I don't want to be in the sun and blah, blah, blah. You will feel it over here, throat chakra, because they're talking to you. If you'll hear or you'll feel a, no, I'm fine, you might feel it here. So those are the feeling people. Then there's a sense of knowing of, a thought might just pass through your head of, I wouldn't mind a dash of water. And all the other people might actually literally hear it inside their ears. So my psychic abilities work with, I have ears inside my ears and eyes behind my eyes. So I see everything through the veil. So it's like holographic images projected onto the world for me. So I switch it on and off at will, which apparently is a bit rare. But you might hear with your physical ears or the ears behind your ears, the plant going, no, thanks, I'm fine. Or, oh, I could really do with some water. And then once you've gone through your impressions, which is feeling, listening, sensing, knowing, use all of your senses, because psychic abilities are in your heart. If the psychic abilities are not in your heart, you're in your ego, and that's not a good thing. You have to feel it in your heart. And just putting your hand on your heart and doing this doesn't mean you're in your heart. You literally have to feel it. So you have to feel it here. So feel your psychic abilities, feel the answer of the plant, and then poke at the soil. And the soil, the plant would have said, oh, yes, please, I'm so thirsty. And you poke at the soil and you see the soil is really dry. And then, the plant might have told you, nah, and then you poke at the soil and you see it's really wet. Or the plant might say, oh, just a dash. And then you poke at the soil and you see that it's not bone dry, but it is getting dry. So just a dash is actually perfect. So that is how we begin to work with our telepathy, is by keeping it really simple. We start with the plants. If you would like to subscribe, please click on the image appearing in the top of your screen. It's an image of me. Just click on that and it will subscribe you to my channel. And I look forward to seeing your clicks, because I won't see you because I can't. Have a lovely day.